if you don't have a smartphone today, you're pretty much not participating in modern society, whether you like it or not. And then the Neuralink is the future of that, where if you don't have that, after it's already healed people and it's become this kind of almost like technology for vanity. You know, people could do it just to get smarter, you know, get that job or to, you know, who knows what, play chess. There's a million things you could be doing with future Neuralinks that seem odd to me. Spies.
Spies?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
If you're a spy, imagine being able to change the way your language, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, dude.
Or download information, or it could capture like 360. You just walk around and it could be captured. I'm just
you'll see through other people's eyes and stuff.
Could
like visualize other people's memories and things like that.
If other people have the Neuralink and you're in Neuralink, and you got your Neuralink, it seems like it's possible.
Or if the neural net can like observe other people's thoughts without them being tapped into it, which is possible too.
Yeah, so like none of that sounds good to me.
Do you want to have a window, a two-way window, or only a one-way window? And it's basically I'll take the two-way window because I want to observe what's happening to me.
Right.
I went through a phase without a phone in 2008 or 9. Mm-hmm. Well, really from 2009 to 2014, I was just broke as hell, so I didn't pay for a cellular. I had a phone without cell service, and it was horrible. I didn't have maps. I think eventually they let me have maps, and I was like, because I would have to like map out everything before I went and write it down on paper, and I was like, oh my God. And then I ended up doing Hurricane Sandy relief, and it was literally impossible to coordinate. Everything was being done on a cell phone. People were calling and texting, and I was like, I can't participate in the cleanup. I felt impotent and lost, and I just had to concede my position. They had me in a really good managerial role to like help clean up and organize where stuff was going, and I was totally incapable. Wild. And I think it'll be the same thing with like disaster relief, with just problem solving in the future. If you don't have access to the net, they're gonna be like, dude, we cannot wait 3 hours for you to send a letter to the guy. Like we need to do this in 6 seconds and move on. Right.
And I do see good in terms of, I talk to people who work in science and medicine, and they love AI for what it can do for combing through, you know, equations and whatnot to figure out what's the best cure for such a thing. You know, and I'm distrustful of everything and people. You know, people are flawed. People make the AI can be flawed, but it still seems to be a great way for these people in those institutions to find some answers quickly. Whether or not they're the right answers in the end, I don't know. It's the future of people, you know, because it's like the transhumanist idea of someone like Ray Kurzweil loves the idea of a Neuralink thing where he can download his consciousness into a computer through a computer interfacing brain microchip and then live forever. If you consider that being alive still. I guess we'll have to then redefine what life is, but they want to be able to move that consciousness to another husk. You know, maybe these cyborgs that we got coming out.
Kind of like, I don't think it would be him though. I think it would be like a replica, like a clone of his consciousness. Like his perception would dissipate when his body died, I think. Because I think of it as like sentient. These machines are becoming, but not conscious. The consciousness, the subconscious. I was thinking about this a couple nights ago, laying in my hotel in Dallas, Texas. That's the difference between consciousness and sentience, and like the subconscious. It's like a combination of a bunch of human activity, a bunch of animal. I don't know what it is exactly. I don't want to defer the word God, but like vibrating something is happening. It's not your conscious thoughts. It's like the words that come into your brain are like, what the fuck? Why did I think that? Like that subconscious. Maybe that's the sentience. That's the actual sentience. And then where your consciousness is like your forethought, your ability to create thoughts, and I'm going to decide to look at that now. Right. Whereas like the feelings and emotions I'm having about that are like the sentience. The sentient observation, whereas the consciousness is like the descriptor, like the casing of it.
It's the focused funneling of whatever was happening in the pool of the subconscious. I think the subconscious is a way to talk to God. I think that is connected to God. I think imagination can be a way to communicate with God, with a supreme being. But I think, I don't know what the future of humanity and our subconscious will be like when we're all interfacing with computers, and will it just decay?
Yeah, because in this metaphor, the subconscious would be the sentience. So it would be like consciousness and sentience being subconsciousness. maybe when we're interfacing with computers, it's all sentience. We lose our consciousness. We don't have that like. But what I found is the more honest I am interfacing with myself on the internet videos, looking at my own eyes, listening to myself, my consciousness becomes becomes sentient. Like it melds with the subconscious web of humanity, and my forethought actually affects people's back thought. Like it seems like it.
And that's not for everyone, but you have found a way to, I think, to correct me if I'm wrong, eliminate the filter between you and the people, right? Because the internet allows you to just put your thoughts out there raw, right? Which is great. Not everyone can do that. I think it's a great thing to be able to do. But you're taking that raw thought, putting it out there, and it's affecting people, good or bad. I think that's a good thing. And that goes back to what you're saying about books too. Books, writing, all that stuff, that's what that's for. I love that. And that's one of the positives, I think, of this. It can obviously have lots of negative things, but I like seeing the positive and the negative across the internet. And I like seeing things I really disagree with and things that inspire me, because that all starts to work on my own immune system of my beliefs and the way I process the world. So I think that's a good thing.
I think it is the inevitability. Again, it's like a flood, not necessarily good or bad. It's water flowing heavily in one direction, as water does. It seems like it's the consciousness and the subconscious are blending. As I use this technology, like writing kind of gets your conscious thoughts into the subconscious understanding. So does internet video. So does like melding with the machine state, like the neural net when you're in there. And it's like it becomes one thing. Like we realize that, but in that sense, it's almost like we're losing our identity and becoming one thought pattern.
Yeah, that I don't like.
You like the identity? I think it's important. Like Duncan Trussell was talking about how like when you go to God, you realize we're all one and how boring that gets. And you're like, I need to go experience aloneness. Alone.
I think being in the presence of God is something we can't even comprehend. And that perhaps that isolation with God in heaven is something you can't even understand. Like it will be an infinite joy.
That's what he was saying is like the word alone is all one. All alone, all one. It's like the same word.
Yeah.
And and that it's like you are all, everything is one, but then you're like, I need to be separate. I need to go experience life as an individual, so I'm not alone, all one.
I think the difference is like being one here on this fallen planet is ugly, and there's so much ugliness and so much beauty as well. Whereas in a heaven, it's immense perfection, right? So it's like almost the way you were thinking about a good that oversees the neural net. That's the only type of good that I can imagine overseeing anything without flaws is God's, right? And we're not a part of that right now. We're stuck in these husks on this planet with all of these problems. And so trying to be one with all of these problems seems extremely dangerous and poisonous to our hearts and minds.
That's interesting. Like the trying to use the probe to govern the probe.
Well, yeah. Look, they're going to use the probe, the neural net, to usher in a social credit system that you will not be able to divorce from.
Well, I think the probe is our body. Is what I meant when I said the probe. So use the body to govern the state of the body. But it's kind of what we do in politics. Is like we use our probes to govern our probes. Like we don't rely on God to govern us because it doesn't really have any sense. God doesn't make sense. It just is. It just is this like force, this like neutral eminence, like of twist. I don't know what the hell it is exactly. But
well, no, I wouldn't say neutral,
but like it doesn't seem to have like intellect. It just is. Maybe it doesn't seem to do math. I mean, it definitely math can describe the way it moves, but it doesn't seem to like. I don't know it that well, but
I would say God is everything, and that everyone here on the planet defines it differently and then interprets it in their own ways, and unfortunately, in talking politics, defines it to help push whatever their agenda is, and they use God front facing, and I'll say it's like a small g God because they're woefully misrepresenting it to push their own evils. So that part is alarming. But that's with everything, because we're living in a world where there's no language anymore. We've all destroyed language to such a degree that we are basically interdimensional beings sharing one space because we can't use the same language to define even the things we're looking at together.
Have you smoked DMT?
Wait, did you guys get high without me?
No, I have never. I have done many things. That was one. I haven't done anything like that in 16, 17 years. But I did do lots of things.
I'm surprised you haven't, but it wasn't super popular 17 years ago. I'd never really heard of it until like a decade ago.
17 years ago, the craziest stuff we were doing. And I just want to tell everyone, I don't think you should do it. I think it's a waste of time. Although Ian could disagree and say why, and that's fine. I wish I didn't. However, I'm glad I had those experiences.
You did too much of it? Too much psychedelics?
For a way too long of a time. You know, like there was like a good 10-year span of a lot of things. And I experienced a lot of crazy stuff. But DMT wasn't one of them. The crazy stuff we were doing was there was something we can get online. It was the stuff that's in like cough medicine. They took it out of cough medicine. So you can't go get it anymore. Not codeine, it's like DXM?
DXM, yeah, I've heard of that.
So you could get the pure form of that. And I don't think you can do that anymore. Like just buy it online. But so that was the wildest stuff.
DMT, dude. That DMT, your body makes it.
Yeah,
You're constantly producing low doses of this dream chemical or whatever it is. And it's like, I mean, you keep talking about being with God and like being close to God and having this oneness. Even though in DMT I didn't have like the oneness necessarily, I was there with other beings, but it was just a high frequency state. Like
Machine elves?
They just looked like high frequency dense packets of persona.
Interesting.
Yeah, they kind of look like people, but like glowing, not really glowing, shimmering light, like dense light. Like it's like trillions and quadrillions of electrons warping around each other at light speed, producing like all the shimmering colors of like a gradient rainbow all at once kind of thing. And there were like 3 of them. But also if I just unfocus, it just looked like white light. But you can see in the white all the different colors in white light.
Did you talk to him?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
What did they say?
A lot of different stuff. The girl was like doing this, and she was like, "Come here," and I was just like, "Where?" And she said, "In." I was like, "Oh God!" And then the dude to my left, and then there was a smaller guy there. She was closest. That's why she was so big, and then he was a little further away, so he was a little smaller. And then that guy over there was the smallest. He looked like their son. And then there was these 3, like almost. I thought maybe they were like scientists. That guy, I asked, "Are you God?" And he went, "No." I was like, "What is God?" And he showed me a vortex. He was like, "We don't know, but we think it is the vortex." And I was like, "Oh, this at the center of the universe and at the center of every proton, which is apparently 2 protons revolving around each other at the speed of light, according to Nassim Haramehn's Schwarzschild proton paper." Depositing information into the vacuum of space-time and then repositing it back into the localization. And at the center is a miniature black hole of density. So there's this like tiny little vortexes all throughout, and there's subatomic spin probably as a result of all these little vortexes. And the God itself is the vortexual force, large and small.
And you were looking at one of those?
No, I asked him, "What is it?" This is as the visions were fading. He was still present for questions. He's like, "I'm still here if you want to ask." And it just showed me a vision of it. I say he because it was a masculine kind of energy. I asked him, and then like my vision was overtaken with the shock of the vortex for a moment. But he was like, "But we don't know. We think it's that."
I stopped doing all of that because I felt like I was entering places I shouldn't be entering. I felt like it was opening doors to bad places. And this is before I even believed in God at all. At the time, still an atheist. But I was getting so much anxiety from opening those doors through the things I was digesting that in my waking life, was like, I can't keep opening these doors.